Hello and welcome to Portsmouth This Week. I'm your host, Conley Zani. This show is under the auspices of Rich Raiiner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues and events that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the personalities, the leaders in this town that make up this magical place that we live. I'm honored today to be talking to our Fire Chief, Paul Ford. Welcome, Chief. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being on this show. And I know you've been at Portsmouth for, what, 4.5 years now?
Just about, yep.
I feel bad we haven't had you yet because, I mean, we are so lucky to have someone with your experience and talents leading our team here in Portsmouth.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I want to share with our viewers a little bit of your background and history, and I'll just let you tell it because I know you've been Fall River, Brookline. So can you sort of back up and tell a little bit the story of how you landed in Portsmouth, ultimately?
True, that's a long road.
That's a long story.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
I'll condense it. You can push me if I...
Okay.
Kick me if I have to speed it up.
Kick you under the table here.
So back in the early 80s, it was pretty common for the guys to go take entrance exams, police, fire. I really never had a desire to be a firefighter, but I went. My buddies and I, we went and we took the civil service exam, and I was the one who got the job out of that test.
Yep.
So I was hired in Fall River in 1983, April 24th, and started my training and started my career as a firefighter and just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And so I started studying when I could for promotion, and I made lieutenant in the late 80s, 89. And then I went right into studying for captain, and that was a very unusual road because in Massachusetts you have to take the test every 2 years. Doesn't matter where you land on the list, every 2 years, and you only get promoted if there are openings.
Okay.
So on my second exam in the 90s, I was the first and only Fall River firefighter who was a lieutenant who topped the captain's test and didn't get promoted.
Oh, really?
Because no one retired. And unfortunately, I hold that distinction twice. 2 times I topped the list, and there were no promotions, no retirements. So I went quite a spell retaking captain's exams. And when I say top it, I mean like with a 98 and not get a promotion.
Oh my goodness, wow.
So in the early 2000s, I made captain and then district chief in 06, and then in 2008, I was promoted to fire chief in the city of Fall River.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. And then from there, it was a Brookline jump.
So I spent a few years in there, 28 and a half in Fall River total.
Yeah.
And an opportunity came up. It was really a fact-finding mission of mine, applying for Brookline. But as things went along and the process continued, I was in the running from 53 applicants right down to being offered the position.
Yeah.
So I ended up making the decision to leave Fall River and go to Brookline. Spent 4.5 years there, and then I officially retired from the Massachusetts Fire Service.
That's right. But then we got lucky enough to have you come here.
But there was a stop along the way or two, because after I retired, I went to Sturbridge for 6 months for as the interim fire chief while they were searching for a new chief. Yeah. And then shortly after I left there, I was called by Oxford. Their chief was out injured, and they asked if I could just come for a couple of months, interim, and it ended up she retired, and I stayed there a year.
Okay.
And the day I left there, I had to leave by law in Massachusetts.
Because of pensions,
Because of pensions.
Right.
The day I left there, I hit send on my application for Portsmouth, and I went on vacation, and shortly after that, I got a call for an interview and came
While on vacation,
I got the call.
Yeah.
And but it's very ironic because my goal for many years was when I was ready to retire from Fall River, not realizing I would go to Brookline.
Yeah.
My goal was always to then spend a few years somewhere on Aquidneck Island, as a fire chief.
Right.
So
And here you are.
I ended up where I was supposed to be.
And you said you love being a firefighter, you love being a chief. What is it that you love about it?
Everything. We're
adrenaline,
we're
the
problem
brotherhood?
solvers. The brotherhood, the camaraderie, of course, the variety of tasks that we are charged to take care of.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about that. Tell me about that.
So when I've always said it's when someone doesn't know who's going to be able to fix this, they call the fire department. So obviously we fight fires, and obviously we go to car accidents and medical calls, but there are other things, broken pipes. In my career, I was called one day to rescue a dog that got stuck in a pen. On another occasion, I had to go and get a police officer's daughter who had gotten into her father's handcuffs, handcuffed herself, and then his key stripped, and they couldn't get him off. And they called the sergeant. They couldn't get the handcuffs off. Oh. So who did they call? The fire department.
I'm sure that was not a call they wanted to make.
I'm sure he was not pleased with that, but we were able to remove the cuffs from his daughter. Right. So it's things like that.
You guys solve the problems.
I always say, if you have a problem, my guys will go there and they'll make your day better. They might not always solve completely if there's a broken pipe, but they're going to do something. They're going to get the water shut off or divert the water. Whatever the case may be, they're going to make your day better.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the goal. When you're a firefighter, that's what we're there for. And to be honest, my guys strive for that. When they go out and they help you, they feel great about it. That they did what they were there for.
Yeah. And you told me you feel good every day going into
Every day. I do not remember, in April will be 40 years, I do not recall a day that I drove into work saying, oh, I have to go in today.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, I know you've found yourself in a couple pretty dangerous situations. Probably several.
There've been a few.
Many.
There've been a few in my career.
Can you regale me with like a story or two of like some life or death?
Sure. I guess my first close call, that I would call it, we had a fire in a building that housed both a club, like a bar club, and a store and some apartments up above. And we were into fighting the fire for a while, and it seemed to be, we were getting a handle on it. And I was a lieutenant at the time. The district chief brought me upstairs, and he said, we went into a room, and he said, listen, and you could hear the crackling around us. He said, I want you to get your crew in here in a line and open up these walls. So I went out, got my crew, came back with a line. By then it was completely blacked out, smoke-wise.
With smoke, okay.
And as I advanced the nozzle in and went around an obstacle in my way, the floor gave way. The original fire had started in the office that was below me.
Wow.
So I went down, but I got stuck, my air tank and my arms, so I was really stuck in the hole.
You're like dangling through a hole.
Dangling, with the fire coming right up by my legs and right by my face mask. And
where were your colleagues? They couldn't see you?
They were just behind me, but I was just a few feet in front of them, but with the smoke and the little turn I took, they couldn't physically see me. They could hear me yelling. And I tried to get myself out and with my foot on the floor, and it gave way again. But the second time I was able to roll back, and then they were able to grab me and pull me out.
It reminds me of maybe falling through ice, right? Like kind of that sort of thing.
It was that type of situation.
Wow,
but
that's terrifying.
It wasn't nice and cold.
No, it was the opposite.
It was the opposite.
Oh, wow. Did you get burned?
In that fire, I did not.
Okay.
Well, I had another situation where myself and a very good friend of mine, we had gone to a fire, we were recalled. So the fire had been going on, we were off shift. And by that time, the roof of this, what was once a church, had collapsed and was sitting on the first floor.
The roof was
down flat, and the district chief, who ironically was the same district chief that brought me in that other room years before, at this point I was a captain, he said, bring a line in there and hit the basement, you could see open basement further into what years before had been the church sanctuary.
Yeah.
So we walked in, walking.
Is that where the fire was?
Well, the fire was in the basement, so it started there.
Okay.
So when we walked in on what was actually the roof, sitting on the floor, and we got a line into the hole in the fire, all the flooring around us just gave way. And it was
like the whole thing went down.
It just went down.
And you're standing on it.
It was like an old-fashioned elevator. We turned to run, and the floor went right by us. We were in the basement.
It was like ding, 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 like the floor is going,
right away.
passing before your eyes.
And he and I were both down there. We had no radio, and we had no air tanks. And
you're in the middle of where the fire started.
And we had fire all around us. And all we had was the hose to get back up, and I tried that, and that doesn't work.
Well, did anybody see that happen?
The chief that had sent me in there and his aide, they were in another section, and they heard the collapse and saw that we were gone. And that one ran out for help, and the district chief's arm came over the edge of the hole, and I was able to help my buddy up, and then they were able to grab me and pull me up.
Oh my God, that's
so
just...
that was a little hairy. But it's funny that the reaction we both had, we were just laughing hysterically afterwards.
Oh yeah,
and
just that was like
your
your brush with death.
Well, I just felt it was like you, in that situation, you either cry or laugh, and we were just, it was like an uncontrolled, just laughing at what just went on, and
oh my God,
how crazy it was.
That is crazy. That's. Has anything that crazy happened in Portsmouth with you?
Well, not to me.
Well, I know your whole team just delivered a baby.
They did. They did.
That's
a pretty unusual event. They don't happen every day.
Yeah.
But they did, and they did a great
amazing.
job. And mom and the baby was doing fine as far as we know. They were, when they got to the hospital, everything was all set. And my guys do a lot of that. A lot of EMS calls. I'll tell you this. I have cards and letters in my drawer, stacks of them. I get cards and letters of appreciation constantly. Every week, I would say, we get something.
That must feel so good.
It does. But I'll tell you something even more amazing. Besides the cards and the acknowledgement or the emails that are just very common. So if you add up my chief time elsewhere, I was a chief for about 9.5 years elsewhere. And I've been in Portsmouth, as you know, 4.5 years. But if you sectioned out any 12-month period, I have some records, the Portsmouth Fire Department in any 12 months, we've received more food and cash donations than my other 9.5 years combined.
Really?
It is, the people, the citizens and residents of Portsmouth have been unbelievably supportive of us. Having lunch delivered is a norm. Having a gift card for a pizza place, Dunkin' Donuts, very commonplace. Having checks written, and we have a donation account, so it's very nice that all gets deposited into an account, and then when the guys need something that's not a typically budgeted item, that's something we want to do, they wanted to redo the weight room, the gym, and install a wall and some lighting, and I bought a new elliptical. Those things come out of those funds that people donate to us. Yeah,
so you told me, I didn't realize your guys are living there, basically. The shift is 24 hours, and they're sleeping and eating and...
Well, even before we had a shift change, the fire station's 24/7.
Right.
So there were always firefighters there. We never shut the lights off and go home.
Of course,
it's always operational. Now my guys are working a new schedule, and it is a 24-hour schedule, so they come in 8 in the morning till 8 the next morning.
Yeah.
And so when they come in, they may have had breakfast already, they may not, they may cook breakfast, but they're preparing lunch. Sometimes they go out. Today they ordered sandwiches out, but some groups, they'll cook a lunch. Most of the groups now are planning, and they'll cook supper, dinner, and then they're there until the next morning. But throughout all that time, obviously, there are station duties, housework. The floors are swept and mopped every day, and the bathrooms are cleaned, and dishes are done, and apparatus is checked, equipment is checked. There's training every day, whether the guys are out there raising ladders or practicing with SCBA or running the pumps and practicing that. Could be EMS skills they're practicing, or could be classroom type thing.
Now you're big on the training, because I know you have quite the history.
I'm big on the training. I got the bug many, many years ago, and I spent about 30 years teaching for the Mass Fire Academy. And so yeah, that's a big part of my history, my past, and so I certainly try to bring that wherever I go. Well, so how big is the department? So we have a fully staffed, we have 47 employees. We have 40 firefighters, and that includes officers. 40, what we would normally call boots on the ground. So we have 4 shifts, or we call them groups, one A, B, C, and D, and they each are staffed with 10. So that's 40. And then I have a training officer and a fire marshal's 42, myself is 43, and then 4 dispatchers. Oh, wow. And I think you shared with me, I want to talk a little bit about like the equipment, and are you happy with the equipment, and then the building itself. I think, didn't you say that the building that you guys are in is one of the oldest that is owned by the town, right? Well, not quite. Oh, I'm not getting that right. Okay. The way I phrase it, it's my guys live 24/7 in the building that is what I believe is the oldest building in town that hasn't been remodeled. Okay. So it was built around 1970, and it's pretty much the way it was built. Now, with Rich Rainer's help, we were able to get some money in the budget last year to do some renovations on the 2nd floor, new ceilings, new lighting, new floor, some paint. And this year, right now, we currently, we're given some additional funding to do the same on the 1st floor, lighting, ceiling tiles, new flooring, and actually new kitchen. So if you go in the station now, the kitchen, think about it, where your house may have a couple of people in the kitchen and closing drawers and doors. We have 10 that are in there nonstop, 24/7. They never go away on vacation for a week. The station is always manned, and those cabinets were built in 1970. And they're pretty beat. All right. So we are making improvements in the living facility, which is, it's good. It helps with morale. We all want to work in a nice place and a clean place. So we're making some progress there. Right. And then how about the equipment? Are you happy with the equipment that you guys have? And I am. We'd always like more. It's like, of course, would you like a new car? We have very good equipment. It gets a lot of use. So, and it's very costly to replace. We just ordered an engine. Well, I say just ordered in this day and age. I ordered it last December, and we won't get it till next December. A fire engine. Wow, so it's a 2-year lead time. Right now. They used to be a little over a year. In fact, when we signed the contract last year, it was between they give you a time spread, and I want to say it was like 365 days to 450. But with what's all going on in the world with the supply chain issues, the lead time is now 2 years. Our medical rescue, that we got a new one recently, because of that we went right into the mode of ordering another one, and that's got an 18 to 24 month lead time for an ambulance. Now, there was something really cool that you worked with or maybe proposed, and Rich was instrumental in maybe using some of the ARPA funds to kind of get a jump start on some of this equipment purchase. I'm not saying that right. Not so quite, but you're reminding me, though. But yeah, yes. But it was a really important move. Like, it was a different way to do it that I think takes,
advantage of, like, you know that the lead time's this
Right.
long, and we can't be you're being proactive rather than reactive, I guess, is the essence of it, right?
So what Portsmouth had done in the past, they did, just like almost every other community, we weren't really budgeting for, what's coming next. And you could relate this to a person who buys a car, leases a car. And then at the end, the car's shot and the lease is up and you got to lease another car.
Right.
But with the fire apparatus and the way the budget process works, that can be troublesome because if we look at an engine today and we say, we need to replace this next year, and we start the budget process and put in for it, the engine we have ordered right now is $585,000. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
A ladder truck can be $1 million.
Yeah.
So in the normal budgeting process, if we plan on that, we say, okay, we're going to get the money for next July. But if the town can't afford it and we don't get the money, we don't have another shot really until the next year, another whole year.
Wow. Yeah.
And then if we get the money, now it's 2 years after that to get the apparatus.
Right.
So it's an unknown for me as a fire chief, also unknown for the town because all of a sudden a truck goes down and then it's $500,000, $600,000, $700,000.
Right.
So we put a plan together where we would, a capital plan, where we would look forward and see what our needs will be based on life expectancy and take out the revenue that's brought in from the ambulance response and put that aside. Basically, the financial term is funding your depreciation.
Okay.
So if you have a vehicle that lasts 10 years and it's $1 million, you should be putting $100,000 aside. So
Yeah.
in 10 years, when it's done, you can buy a
Get
new
another,
one.
yeah.
So we're on the road to funding our depreciation.
All right. That
And we're
sounds
doing
smart.
that through some seed money that started with the APRA funds.
Yeah.
And then by taking a certain percentage of the revenue, we are now covering our fuel costs, our maintenance costs, and all the purchase costs of the vehicles.
Yeah.
So that's no longer in the town budget.
That's awesome. And you're working with the police department, too, on some vehicles, too,
Well,
and
well-
using that same mechanism.
Yes, when we went to the council, they really wanted to have it more of a public safety capital
Like a
improvement.
broader,
A
yeah.
broader plan. And so we were able to do that by taking a little more of the percentage of the revenue. We're able to fund 2 cruises
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah,
So,
nice.
so the plan we laid out covers all of the fire department's ancillary vehicles, like a chief's car, the assistant chief's car, and so forth, and ambulances and fire engines. And we have a newer boat. It was new 2 years ago. But even in that plan, 10 years out is the replacement on those engines.
Okay.
So that's all figured out in the plan, and
Yeah.
it's a living document,
Yeah.
especially with the way prices just changed. We actually, the ambulance that we just purchased, that we got in May or June, was about 225 or 230,000.
Wow.
And ordering an identical one is $415.
Today.
Today.
If you ordered it today, the same
No, we
vehicle.
did. We ordered it.
Oh, okay.
But it's
jumped
it's roughly
so much.
415, 420. It went up over $100,000.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well,
That's-
I'm glad that we are, planning for this. And, before you came on, I did all sorts of research on you and your career. And I saw an article that was written when you were coming into Portsmouth, and in a big piece was that experience you were bringing for the planning and the operations and that. And I'm so glad to hear that this is kind of getting put in place and everything.
I was very happy that it took a lot of people and Rich's help,
I'm sure.
obviously, and then the council working with it and getting their approval on this plan. But it's a forward-thinking, long-range plan. As I said, hopefully the town will never get hit with an uh-oh.
Right.
But,
We're trying to prevent that.
We need 400,000 for an ambulance right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can progress and have a steady resupply of those vehicles as necessary.
Yeah. Well, I knew I was going to do this. I could talk to you forever, and we have only about 3 minutes left. And I know you actually had some things you wanted to share with the public about some cautionary safety tips for the season.
Yes.
Can you do it in 3 minutes? I'm really sorry.
I can. No, I can. So I will open up my folder then.
Okay, yeah, don't open it. Off the top of your head, what's the most important thing for us to think about?
It's Christmas time.
Okay.
So first off, everyone should be having operational smoke detectors in their homes.
Yes.
If you have battery operated, you need to change them every year. You should check them every month. Nowadays, if battery operated, you can buy 10-year monolithic battery, which is sealed 10 years. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
All detectors, life expectancy is 10 years. They have to be replaced after that.
Okay.
Carbon monoxide detectors. There are different requirements. Every home needs to have one. I recommend you have one on every floor in the home. You can have carbon monoxide smoke combination detectors, so have them everywhere. More protection is better.
Right.
It's Christmas time. If you have a live tree, keep it away from heat sources and fireplaces and hot radiators. Those things dry. If they don't catch them directly on fire or fireplace, the radiator will dry them out and make them more flammable than they are.
Yeah.
Water them every day. There's a great video. If you go on, if you Google the NFPA wet Christmas tree versus dry, you can find a video clip that shows the ignition sequence and burn sequence of a wet tree versus a dry tree. It's
And NFPA is National
Fire Protection Association.
Okay, NFPA,
if you
wet
Google
versus dry tree.
Wet versus dry Christmas tree.
Okay.
Very interesting. What else? Electrical, extension cords. Please don't use extension cords. If you have to, don't have them under carpets. The electricity running through a cord creates heat. That heat dissipates in the open air, and it's relatively safe. When you put it under a carpet, under bedding, then that heat doesn't have a place to dissipate, and it can get hot enough and cause a fire. Even your laptops, you shouldn't be charging them on a couch or a soft chair, because there's heat in there. It needs airflow. Put those on a tabletop.
Okay.
What else?
Well,
fire safety drills. Everyone should have a plan in their house that everyone knows about, how to get out and where we're going to go meet and to stay out. It's something that should be practiced, just like kids in school practice fire drills. You should have a plan in your house and practice it when everybody's up and practice it in the middle of the night. And make sure everybody knows how to get out, that any exits they're going to go out, those people are able to manipulate the locks, open the doors, and get out those areas.
You got it. That's great. So listen, I know you want to say a final thank you to everybody out there in Portsmouth and how they take care of your department, and then we'll
Absolutely.
wrap up. Yeah.
Absolutely. We are so appreciative. The community has been great to me personally. It's been great to the fire department, very, very supportive. Yeah. I'm telling you, I receive nothing but compliments and thank yous all the time, and that's my guys. That's the work they do, and they're there for our citizens, absolutely.
That is so awesome.
Thank
we are
you.
so lucky to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My guest this week has been Chief Paul Ford of the Portsmouth Fire Department. We'll see you next time.